heavy today. Only a unique person would choose to go out in a day like, despite him wearing layer upon layer of thick coats. His whole body has likely been chilled to the bone. Just walking like this is not a viable long-term solution, seeing that the ground here is relatively flat. He decides to rest here and stay the night. Any urgent matters can wait until tomorrow. Don't be fooled by the appearance of the snow. It's actually quite deep. After digging for a while, he has made some progress. Lying inside, he can at least take shelter from the wind and snow. No sooner had he finished speaking than the wind began to howl. Seems the weather wants to make Taha's work even harder. He prepares to set up a tent in the snow pit. He connects all the support poles into place. Then he can crawl inside the tent. His frozen hands struggle to perform the task. He finally manages to get the tent set up. He uses his shovel to clear space for the ground pegs. Every corner is pressed deep into the snow. Actually looks quite sturdy. Obviously, this is just the inner layer. Snowflakes continue to drift. Taha remains busy without a moment's rest. He makes sure to park down the ground in front of the entrance. The outer tent cover is placed over the top. Now, he does not have to worry about heavy snowfall. After working until now, Taha seems to feel much more at ease. Looking from afar, only the tip of his shelter is visible. Even with a gust of wind, it remains stable. After organizing his equipment, he crawls into his small nest. The space inside is very limited. It is barely enough for one person. Fortunately, without the biting wind, feels much more comfortable. After inflating his sleeping pad, he quickly lies down to rest. Unlike the piece inside, the gaps around the shelter have been completely filled. The sealed entrance remains as it was. When Taha wakes up from his sleep, it is pitch black outside. Now he needs to prepare some food to fill his stomach. He places the tin in the stove to heat up his canned meal. Under these conditions, there is no forecast meal here. Having a simple het meal is quite an experience in itself. After eating, his body feels warm. He must head out to catch some cold air to wake himself up. However, he still needs to clear some of the surrounding snow. After that, he can crawl back into the shelter, get a good night's sleep. After waking up, Taha is already back in the make traveling easier. He somehow managed to find a sled. Pulling his gear with it makes things much easier. After wandering through the forest for a while, he finds a spit in a hillside. Is a decent place to. A few large stones are positioned cleverly. They provide perfect shelter from the cold wind. He quickly ties the four corners of the top with hemp rope. Then he secures them to the surrounding wrecks. He really knows how to use the terrain to his. Saves him a lot of effort. The space inside is much more spacious than last night's tent. He clears the snow from the ground, pulls his sled inside. Using it as is truly a great feeling. However, the drafts coming from everywhere are a major issue. Fortunately, he can set up his small iron stove. With a source of warmth, it will not feel too cold. The trees all around are covered in a white blanket of snow. Taha wanders around looking for fallen deadwood. He can gather quite a bit without needing any tools. Back at the shelter, he quickly lights a small fire. He also takes the time to saw long legs into smaller pieces. Life goes on quite comfortably this way. Do not underestimate this. Is actually very effective. Just a shot, the tent gets quite hot. He quickly takes off his coat. He also steps out to get some snow to boil water for. No matter the environment, Taha never goes without black tea on a sugar cube. Having a sip in this cold winter wind makes him feel comfortable all over. The snowy weather from earlier has suddenly stopped. He has a little bit of canned food left for when more. The best part is he has green onion too. He finishes it all up. Ta's night quietly approaches, bathed in the warm glow. His shelter looks even more romantic. He sticks up in some more, prepares to say goodnight. As the light of dawn shines in the snow again, he pulls his sled to continue the journey. Anyone brave enough to head out in this weather, truly a tough person. Though the pile in his sled looks a bit is hard work. The wind here is no joke. He has to stop on rest every few steps. Walking becomes even more troublesome. Thick snow feels like stepping into marshmallows. The term walking in thin ice would be an understatement here. He is too exhausted to keep moving forward. He decides to settle down right where he stands. He takes the tent off the sled. The north wind is howling. Setting up the tent is no easy task. The chaotic wind, he first spreads out the tent. His hands do not dare to relax for a second, afraid it might be blown away by the wind. Taha wants to secure the tent with pegs first, but the sift snow is incredibly thick. He has no choice but to dig it out with his shovel. He turns into a hard-working farmer, tending to his little patch of ground bit by bit. Although the ground is now level, the wind shows no mercy. Is howling fiercely if it does not welcome this stranger. Tar is no pushover wife. He manages to fix the tent to the ground bit by bit. He finally succeeds in crawling into the tent. Side, he connects the poles together, lifts the center. The tent gradually takes shape, but looking at how shaky it is hard not to feel concerned. So he tightens the wind ropes one by one, providing a double layer of protection for his little home. Even though the wind continues to blow, looks much more stable now. Back inside, he must quickly set up the small stove. Even though he is wearing layers upon layers, nothing beats the warmth of a fire. He connects the chimney, quickly lights the kindling. The firewood in the stove crackles and burns. As if he has finished a monumental task, he can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Time flies by. The sky outside grows dark. He needs to reinforce those wind ropes once more. Then he can safely return to the shelter. Tar boils a pit of tea first, then heats up his canned food in a container. With his stomach full, he can't get a good night's sleep. He has to continue his journey tomorrow. The shelter takes in the burden for him. It's just unclear whether he will sleep soundly tonight. When we see Tahir again, he is already busy in a hillside. Walking all the way from the plains to the foot of the wind has finally calmed down, has settled quite a bit. Taha picks up his snow shovel. He shovels the accumulated snow away bit by bit. The deeper he digs, the more solid the snow. He has no choice but to grit his teeth. After working for most of the small den finally starts to take shape. This shelter, far more comfortable than yesterday's tent. Not only is the space much, but the heat insulation has also improved significantly. He spreads a top in the ground. Then he tussies the inflatable mattress and tuck. Taha finally has a small home here. However, the wind and snow still drift inside from time to time. He has to use another top to cover the entrance. It's dumb. He turns in the lighting system. Taha takes off his heavy coat. Once the sleeping bag is laid out, he can crawl, since the temperature inside is decent. He decides not to set up the stove. He wants water. A potable burner will do. As always, following his routine, he checks the conditions outside before sleeping. Confirming everything is fine, he returns inside. This guy's meals are always simple. Canned food heated up is enough to fill his stomach. Who knows what new tricks he will come when a new day arrives. Taking advantage of the harsh weather, Taha has to head out again. He pulls his belongings like an old ex. He drags his gear along as he moves. The north wind is blowing hard. The storm seems to be cheering him in. He is in luck this time. He actually stumbled upon a shelter in the countryside. Without a second thought, he goes closer to take a look. Dragging his sled, he walks in through the main door. The place looks a bit run down. In this critical moment, he can't afford to be picky. He decides to just rough it out here for the night. This place used to be an old hunter's cabin. Later, he moved into the city too. The house was left behind with rusty nails, telling stories of its past. But now it needs to lend Taha a hand. He needs to secure his tent. The large tent is set up inside the cabin. He pulls the ropes tight on both sides. Should at least block some of that chilly wind. The heavy snow outside shows no sign of stopping. Stay warm. Taha carefully takes out another top. He joins the two pieces to make a complete tent. Although it looks a bit messy as the wind blows, it's still better than having nothing at all. This serves out. He must secure every corner firmly. And after working for half the day, he is finally settled. Next, he needs to quickly set up the heater. The temperature is still relatively high right now. Once night falls, the temperature will drop rapidly. Being without a stove is absolutely not an option. With the help of the fire is easily ignited. This cold world, he finally feels a bit of warmth. No matter how fierce the wind, he feels much more at ease now. The layout inside is very simple. He spreads the top in the inner area. Then he sets up the inflatable mattress and adds some firewood. He keeps the stove fire burning bright. Many years after the old hunter left, there is finally a sense of life here again. Taha turns in the indoor light. Is much warmer inside now. With the stove temperature up, he needs to boil some water. The fresh snow at the entrance is his endless source of water. Using it to steep his red tea is just wonderful. This very moment, Taha just wants to recite a poem. Having a string windbreak is great. Having warmth is even better. Never mind what it is like outside. Eat until full, drink your fill on. After reciting, Taha sips his tea and enjoys the quiet joy to himself. Is getting. He needs to prepare some food to fill his. Add oil to the pan and fry on. He also has to add the pre-packaged rice, steaming head egg fried rice. A few quick stirs and it is ready to serve. After eating and drink, Tar is full of energy. He must strike while the iron is. He chips some more firewood and stuffs it into. The fire is burning brightly. Only then does he lie down in his bed with. He is sure to sleep very soundly tonight. He had barely left the last shelter for 5 hours. Taha is already rushing off in his next journey. The wind here is wild, crashing and smashing like a rampaging bull. Blows so hard he can barely open his eyes. Everything around him is a vast, white blur of mist now. He can barely see anything clearly. There are many stones scattered in the ground. Looking around, doesn't it seem like there is a great spit to? So he just keeps walking wherever he can. He must quickly stop and set up a shelter to get through the long night. He never carries much with him when he goes out. Just a small stove and a few bundles of a tent. But the wind is too. Ordinary tent stakes can't hold it at all, so he specifically brought some longer and thicker ones. They are like an anchor keeping the tent in place. The entire assembly process goes smoothly. He manages to set up his little den without much effort. Next, it is time for the small stove to shine. Whether this place stays warm or not depends entirely on it. The chimney slowly stretches out of the tent. The stove is also firmly settled in the snowy ground. The calm outside is just an illusion. The gust of wind still makes one shudder. Although Taha looks calm inside, reality, his heart is pounding like a frightened rabbit. He is feeling quite, but at least he has a shelter. He had to stay outside. He surely would have been blown away. The little fire roars to life. He keeps adding wood to the fire. It is currently over 20 degrees below zero outside. This tiny shelter has become a warm haven in this wilderness. Having left in, he needs to make something to eat to fill his stomach. Heat oil in the pan and add tomato sauce. The midst of the aroma of the tomato drifts out immediately. Then he cracks a few eggs in and stirs it all up. Although this dish is as simple as it gets, still looks quite appetizing. He feels all warm and cozy after a full. He puts in his coat and heads. He fills the iron kettle with snow. Now is the perfect time to boil some water for tea. Life is truly wonderful. Time has been thrown into case by this storm. It is impossible to tell if it is day or night. But even so, Taha still has to bite the bullet and head out. The leg he brought must be chopped into smaller pieces. Otherwise, it will not fit into the stove. Time slips by and night arrives. The tent keeps shaking as the wind hits it. Taha, however, is calmly sipping his tea. Adding more firewood to the stove. Seems like it is time to lie down, letting the storm rage outside while he drifts into a deep sleep. Dawn will eventually come, a little earlier than expected.